Hello everybody, this is ACD Combatives. This is Coach Kurt. Welcome to my channel. If you frequent my channel, you know that I'm a control tactics instructor, combatives instructor, and law enforcement. This is all about Taiho Jutsu, Jujitsu, anything related to law enforcement. This is going to be a video of what I call my go-to techniques. I've either used it on the street or I frequently use it while rolling or doing randori. And I thought I would make a list and present them to you. Okay guys, this is going to be a whole series, two-part series on takedowns, throws, off-balancing for combatives. It all starts with the simple pummel drill. I cannot reinforce the need for clinch fighting and pummeling drills for combatives, for grappling in general. It doesn't matter if it's catch or wrestling or Jujitsu or whatever your system is, you need to include the clinch range. And the best way to start off training and learning the clinch range is from the simple pummeling drill. And Coach Colton reminded me to tell people the best way to learn it is just as I was teaching it in the other video, but also imagine leaning in and driving into your opponent, and that kind of helps. And thanks, Coach. This is going to be a head and arm throw. This is actually one of my favorite throws. Here I fence against a punch and boom, right into you're basically tripping them over your hip and your leg. Here it is in slow motion. He throws that punch. I use an elbow shield. I wrap my hand around his head and shoulder throw, or a head and arm throw. Again, one of my favorite throws. Here I am doing a tutorial of it, teaching my training partner Aiken how to do it. And you see it in slow motion. You're basically head and shoulder, and you're twisting them around your waist and throwing them over your hip. And for good measure, I like to pop the leg out so they're falling over. You're tripping them over your hip and your leg. So we're going to go into the hip bump and rear trip takedown. And this is a sacrifice throw. But what I just showed you there is the standard hip bump, and that's my favorite. But Aiken asked, what happens if he's so big and strong you can't take him down? I said, well, that's the perfect time for a sacrifice throw, and that's the rear trip takedown. Whatever you want to call it, it's a sacrifice throw, and we should be showing it again. If you can't get him with the hip bump, you drop to their waist, and here I'm going to do it again. There's the hip bump. And I'm going to do a knee on belly, if I remember right this time, as opposed to turning the person to their stomach. You go with the energy. Last time Aiken gave me the energy. Here's another variation of the rear trip takedown or sacrifice throw from a headlock. So there's various reasons why you'd use it, but a popular reason that I like to teach is when the hip bump fails, you can drop down. I'm showing here a concept where you need to get up under. This is an underhook, and you don't want to just underhook. You want to own the balance and off balance the person, shifting him off his center line. And here I am showing that I'm bending down and I'm actually getting up underneath him. I'm doing what's called a ankle pick. That's one of my favorite takedowns, and here's the ankle pick. In practice, I was training with Colton. You probably saw this from a previous video. Again, I'm getting up deep under the underhook, and I grab the ankle, and it's an ankle pick. Here's the shoulder throw. You guys should definitely remember this. Coach Colton got me really good with the shoulder throw. Here we are doing clinch drilling. Again, you cannot emphasize just how important clinch drills are. We're working some basic strikes in with clinch zone because this isn't sport. This is for self-defense or MMA. And we're just clinching. And let's see if I can narrate this. I get up under, and he does a good job of defending it, and I just let my weight get too far up on his shoulder, and he took advantage. He felt that right away, and he did a textbook shoulder throw, guys. It was perfect. So that is a great throw. Here's a hip throw. It's very similar to a shoulder throw, but the emphasis is lower on the hips. So here's a shoulder tie or a neck tie. I'm saying that's more of a traditional entry. I don't like it. This is more of a jujitsu entry where you just get with a clinch. I can wrap the arm, give him resistance, and he pushes back, and it flows right into a hip throw. That's my favorite way of doing it. It's not a traditional judo method. It's more of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu method. Standing double leg, I have bad knees, plus on the street, I don't want to drop on my knees, especially with 30 pounds of gear on as a police officer. I like to do what's called a standing double. I've also heard it called a blast double. It's great from the clinch range, so you don't have to be ballistic like a high school wrestler. You just drop, put your knee in between them, and it's important to keep that strong arch. You don't want to, or wrestler's arch, you don't want to bend over at the waist. I put the knee in, I drop, and I'm hooking around the back of the legs, and then I just bump, just like that. Now, Aiken's gonna do it to me, and he's never done this before, and textbook, guys, it's a super easy throw to practice. It can be jarring on the partner, but it's a great throw to practice. Outside leg sweep. This is important to show how it should be taught. I'm showing here that you can't just try to sweep the rear leg. You haven't taken the person's balance, you haven't shifted his center line, and you can't shoot, you have to sweep the lead leg. So there I just went to the opposite side and sweeped his left leg instead. But what if I want the right leg? What if I want to sweep the rear leg? Then I have to bring his balance, shift his balance, make him step. So here I am with a flinch response, a couple knees, and then I pull him, which makes him step, and bam, I do the leg sweep. That's how it should be taught. A lot of people get hurting their knees because they're trying to force it, and people get hurt knees. Here I'm demonstrating it, and you can't just go for the sweep. They'll take you down. This, I show that you need to go for the rear lead leg, or force the rear leg to come to you. Off balancing him, or in this case, forcing the balance, and then sweeping the leg. If I remember right, I also show, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do here. It's important when you sweep for your partner's safety not to just be smashing like that into the back of the knee and the thigh. I say you should drag your feet across the mat, just like this, and it's safer for you and your partner. If you don't do it that way in the street, that's one thing, but you should always practice it that way. It's a lot easier on your partner, so it's calf to calf. And here I'm showing you other ways to off-balance the person in a collar tie or the clinch. Okay, so here's a foot sweep. We were just drilling, like you put a gun to my back, and I used a foot sweep. Here I do it again. It's a eyes closed drill, and you just do what comes to you, and that's just an outside basic foot sweep. Nothing fancy, guys. That was big in Hapkido sweeping. And I'm a big fan of it. This was a sloppy single leg, but the concept is you just take one leg. Any high school wrestler or college wrestler would be cringing, but it's the concept of a single leg is off balance using one leg, and this is how I usually get to it, dropping from a clinch. I do not dive into single legs. Body fold takedown. This is classic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're in a high clinch, you drop to the lower body or the lower of the back, and then you just bend. You're using your entire upper body, not just your head, your entire upper body to bend them over. You start, if you're in a high clinch towards the shoulder blades, you drop to the lower back, and then you just lean forward and step over into a mount, and he just walked right into the mount. I just showed him that for the first time, and that's how easy these techniques are, guys. They shouldn't be excessively difficult. Here I am demonstrating it again, just bending over, and I'm going to emphasize stepping over, and it's also involving the hip, kind of bumping into them. Just another slight variation. Entering takedown or throw. You guys have seen this before. I call this an entering takedown or throw, depending on how you do it. This variation is a takedown. Small of the back, and you redirect the head by just shifting the center line, and you dump them. You can get them into an arm bar. There's so many different ways to finish up with that. You take what's given to you. You don't force anything. So this is from the come along, common law enforcement entry. You got a come along hold, or a come along, and the person resists and pulls in. You just go with them, and you do the entering takedown. Guys, I've used this in reality on the street as a cop. It works, I promise you. I teach this. I call this Plan B from an armbar takedown. This is what happens if you try an armbar and they suck you in. So I call it Plan B when I teach it. This is more of the Seagal method, where you, instead of your palm on their chin, you're using your forearm and rolling it past them. This is another method of doing the entering takedown. I call it the entering takedown because it disturbs the center line. You're completely blocking the center line, kind of like a push-pull method. Here I am, he's pulling, and then I'm going with him. It looks different from the other variation because it is different, but it's the same concept. You're disturbing and the center line by entering his center line. You are forcefully entering the center line. So as long as that method is being done, it's an entering throw or takedown. This is more of a throw or a projection because it's more of a slamming through their center line. And I just call this an arm drag takedown, and you'll see it again. You can do this in gi and no gi. You'll see it in both. And you just take their arm and pull it to their center line between their legs. See, I'm pointing down between their legs. And guys, I've used this on the street as a cop. Very effective. Bam! Poke him right down. And see how he went down to his knees. And I'm grabbing him by the oblique side there and just pulling him over. And you'll see another variation of this in a second in the gi. Very effective, super simple. The simpler, the better. Here it is in the gi. You could do this on somebody's wearing a coat. I'm saying same difference. You're grabbing the arm and you're pulling them down. And I'm pointing down between their legs and boom, sucked them down, and I was able to rotate into a back mount. Guys, super effective takedown and simple. The simpler, the better, guys. I love simple stuff. Here I am, I call that, it's an arm drag into what I call the seatbelt position. It's a great way to take somebody down with minimal energy. Again, everything should be as simple as you can make it and as minimal energy as possible. This is an entering drill where you put their hands up in a V-like motion, and it's basically simulating how you would block a punch. You would sidestep, block by the elbow, great way to block a jab, for example, and then you're entering for your basic double leg style takedown. Very effective way to get in off of a jab, and by them holding their hands out like that, that's a great way to drill it without the punching, and then you build up to the punching. Here we are getting into the gi stuff. Some simple shoulder throws. That was a snap down. Guys, in the gi, it's I've heard it called sloppy judo, but the snap down in the gi is super effective. I've used that on the street. It's a terrific technique. This is a corkscrew takedown from a strike. Another one of my favorite takedowns. I call that the A-frame kick you just saw, and the corkscrew takedown. I don't know what you call this in other styles. I use a lot of English terminology, but this is a corkscrew from a clinch position using a knee now because we're sucked into each other. I'm very close. And so again, just demonstrating the corkscrew takedown. It's a great takedown from clinch, depending on which direction their energy is going. All these takedowns, there I'm going in the pin again, all these takedowns and throws depend a lot on direction of energy. All right, the best for last. Well, I wouldn't say the best, but definitely my go-to, my favorite technique. You know, we all have that one that we go to. This is Uchimata. To the right, you're seeing a sport variation of Uchimata. This would be more of your combatives, control tactics, street. Definitely Taiho Jutsu, the way I teach it. Now, you'll also see that, yeah, there's a teniwaza and striking, but the underhook is extremely important, and using the frame is very important, depending on how you want to get to it or how you get to it. But you'll also see that I call it the shallow Uchimata because it's meant to be a soft variation. I want to take the person down with objectively reasonable force. This is control tactics. It needs to be objectively reasonable under Supreme Court case law, Grant v. Connor. So this is why I do it the way I do it. You can juice it up and turn it up if you have to. But as I'm saying, the importance of the steep underhook can't be underestimated. You need that deep underhook, and then you can either grab the wrist like so. You can frame off on the face. It doesn't really matter. Here you see me grabbing the back of the head. There I'm framing on the side of the head. What comes to you is how you take it. You can't be picky. You take what the person gives you and what balance they give you and so forth. All right, I hope you guys like this video. Please like, subscribe, and share.